Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and as a lifelong Dodgers fan, the Los Angeles Dodgers, that is, I'm very, very concerned. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Junior Blue, and I want to send a thank you out to everybody who sent prayers and condolences out for the passing of my mom. Hey, without you guys, I don't think I can make it through it, and that's my confirmation bias.
Gentleman sweep. And that's my confirmation bias.
Debbie Downer. I'm Red O. It doesn't matter your gender, man or woman. You step into the octagon, that means you a fucking warrior. So I don't want to hear stories about it's somebody else's fault. You did that. And that's my confirmation bias. Welcome to Confirmation Bias. This is episode 49, second season of our show.
Yes, it is.
Somebody should be filming this.
Burly. As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is at The League AM. That is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com. Especially check out our blog spot, Diplomatic Immunity, the place where sports fans of all creeds and colors can speak your piece. Also, on our website or our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors, please check that out so that you can see previous episodes of this show, Confirmation Bias, as well as our NFL show, 32 Kings Road. We've got a little bit of everything today. We've got some NBA, some MLB, we've got some hockey, some boxing. It's a lot going on in the world of sports. Dad, what say you, sir?
Let's go ahead and get into them hot topics. So, as you mentioned, we will be speaking of the majority of the sports that are happening right now. So let's get started with the NBA Conference Finals. Right now, there's a game being played. It's game 2 in Boston, Cleveland versus Boston. I think Boston's up 5, but we're a little bit behind. But I wanted to get your take on both series so far, with game 1 for both being in the books and the way that this one is going right now.
Boston is up 2, 79-77. And I will use that opportunity to say that this is legit. And speaking about the Eastern Conference Finals, I guess we'll start there first. Boston and Cleveland. It's legit a 50-50 series. I think I said last show that Cleveland could be in some trouble if it was the Cleveland of the first round. If it was the Cleveland against Toronto, I'd favor them to win. And looking at the way that this series has turned out thus far, it looks like round 1 Cleveland and Boston will beat them for that reason. So the other players, they don't look ready. They just don't look ready. And Tyronn Lue kept saying on Sunday that we just got outplayed. Mm-hmm. You know, we weren't hustling. The thing about Boston, what makes them so difficult is one, defensively, there isn't a single guy for you to key on. All 5 guys that are on the floor are live options. So then what that does is that forces you as a team defense to play defense for an extended amount of time. And I don't think that the veterans that Cleveland has, I don't think they're going to be up for it. I think their legs are gone. And then when you try to play the young guys like Jordan Clarkson or Larry Nance or Rodney Hood. They're airballing layups, airballing jumpers, missing assignments.
They're not ready.
They're not ready. So it doesn't bode well for Boston at this particular time.
I'll say it again. 0 votes. Right? Like this is a coaching clinic that he is putting on. And he's been putting on a coaching clinic all season.
He's been putting on a coaching clinic since he got to
the league. Right.
And every round it's been more impressive.
Yeah.
Because they're shutting down Cleveland. They're getting back out to their 3-point shooters. The first game they doubled LeBron. Second game, they're kind of letting them go. And they're still getting back out to those shooters, which none of the players can get their own shot besides LeBron. They brought in Jordan Clarkson, who I remember when the trade happened. I was like, Jordan, I don't trust Jordan in those moments. And he's proven, as he's gotten benched, that he don't have it.
So staying with that, like since game 1, they basically shut everybody down. It was a wash. It was a blowout. This game, LeBron took it upon himself to be more imposing, took more to scoring role, scored 22 of their 25 points, whatever, in the first quarter. And there's really not too much of a difference. So what can Ty Lue, as a coach do to kind of change this? I mean, they are in Boston. They will go back on Saturday to Cleveland. What kind of adjustments can they make?
Part of the problem is, the assistant coach doesn't really
say,
make adjustments.
Did we put head quotes in?
I mean,
air
there was a picture of him. I think it was the first game, where there was a huddle in the timeout. He wasn't in a huddle.
Yeah,
I mean, they were coaching themselves.
Sometimes good coaches,
not in the Eastern Conference Finals,
because sometimes those veteran players do have some good insight.
Not in the finals. You got something to say. This is when you make your money.
Honestly, Dev, I think, to be perfectly honest, I think he's hoping, and I think LeBron's hoping that them playing at home, that the role players will be more comfortable and they'll step up, and then as it gets later in the series, that the pressure will get to the young Boston Celtics team. But I think, and because I don't think that there are any adjustments that they can make, because again, offensively, Boston forces Cleveland to play defense.
They could play Tristan Thompson more, and they could play.
Tonight
they could play Kyle Korver more.
And they're playing. So they started Tristan Thompson tonight. Thompson is playing, and they're down 7 going into the fourth quarter. Like they just frankly aren't good enough. So you got to hope that you hold serve at home and that it gets to a game 7 and that the pressure overwhelms them. And what I was starting to say was that I don't even think that's a good bet, because you heard talking before Sunday's game, Al Horford was saying this, and then you heard Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum say this. It's like you never know when you're going to get a chance. So even though we know that we're young and we're missing our 2 best players, it's like we're here now. Tomorrow isn't promised. Let's go and get it now.
And that sounds like coaching. The whole coaching staff from top to bottom is preaching that to these kids, and they are buying in wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So speaking of coaching, we almost had a debate a couple weeks ago whether having given a coach, or no, maybe it was before that, but we had a conversation about giving a coach the GM power, if that was good or bad. Cleveland essentially has done that by giving LeBron coach and GM power, and that shit hasn't worked. So I know
disrespectful.
It's not disrespectful. It's facts. I just hate for.
They have a new GM who
Kobe Altman,
who tried to.
Come on, bro.
He tried.
He did try.
He did. I mean,
he did try.
It just didn't work.
My thing is this, and I've been critical of LeBron for the entire portion of his career, but I just don't want the narrative to be if he loses is because his surrounding parts weren't good enough. That's his fault.
Well, he has a good team. The narrative is always whatever he makes it. So if it's lose one way, then it's because of this.
But if they win, it's because he's so great, he carried them bumps. But then if he loses, they're bumps. But you pick those bumps and you pick those contracts. We can't forget that shit. So moving on to the Western Conference Finals, which is
let's talk about it.
On last show, you remember that you asked Elise, clip that up. I said that it was hope or hype. Do the Rockets have the recipe for beating the Golden State Warriors? And I said no, they don't. Gentlemen sweep. That was my confirmation bias. Have any of you guys changed your mind after game 1? Because y'all were like, nah.
I said it in 6. I still believe it.
Game 2 is a must-win for Houston.
Well, can we talk about this though? How they played the coaching, how they played Harden in game 1. Every time they guarded him to his left and made him go to his right. They took away his step back shot every time because it's easier to do a step back if you're going to your offhand. They took that one thing out of his arsenal.
But he still went for 40.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
He had to work super hard for that.
But he went for 40. And they lost. So that strategy was beautiful.
Yeah, no, all I'm saying is he produced. I think it's, again, what I said at the end of that segment was that there's a blueprint to beating D'Antoni teams in the playoffs, which is you make the playmakers, Steve Nash, in this instance, Chris Paul and James Harden, you just make them go one-on-one, and everybody else is a non-factor. Yeah. And that's what they did. And even when they were close at the beginning, when it was going back and forth, actually Houston had a lead and then it ended up going back and forth, it was easier for Golden State to score than it was for Houston to score. You got
because one-on-one basketball versus team basketball.
That's the question I have for you, Les. So
70% ISOs.
So watching them play the other day was just hard on the eyes. You and I played a lot of basketball, and like you said, their offense was so much easier in Golden State. They're moving the ball, they're getting back cuts. To watch him dribble 25 times and get almost 5 shot clock violations,
that was crazy.
Was very hard to watch. And how can they continue to play like that and expect to win?
They can't. But they played all season like that, just like D'Antoni teams do. They play where this ISO ball, you come off a screen, you hope the 3-pointers in the corner are the man loses them, and now you can kick it out to them for 3-pointers. And what happened to Ryan Anderson?
He hardly played.
I know. They literally were kicking the ball out to Mbu Amate,
who missed 8 layups.
Well, the problem is
and threes and everything.
The problem is that he was making those shots during the regular season when Ryan Anderson was hurt, and they have elected to, which I think makes sense. They elected to go with the guys that have been playing most of the season. The problem with D'Antoni's half-court offense, so with the overall offense, they bank too much on transition, right? Which then makes you susceptible to teams that know how to establish or control tempo. Because if I can control tempo, you're not getting the runouts. Clint Capella was silent. That's number one. But then the second thing is with D'Antoni's half-court offense, there's no player movement.
None.
It's good ball movement when the playmaker breaks his initial defender down and causes the defense to collapse, then the ball moves. But there is no player movement whatsoever, and a fundamental tenet of defensive basketball is you got to see man and ball. Well, they're only having to see man because the man doesn't move. Like, guys just run in the corner and they stay there. And it doesn't help that Ariza's cold. It doesn't help that Eric Gordon is ice cold. So
I think
where's the help coming from?
But also it's the orientation of the Warriors, because when you have Green, Looney, and Durant. Durant and what's his name, shooting guard, and Clay on the floor at the same time, every time they switched, there was nowhere for Harden to go because every last one of them, the height and the length, it didn't matter because usually Houston looks for the mix match.
Right.
Sometimes they got him on Curry, and as soon as he was on Curry, they sent over another player.
Right.
So they took that one of their main offensive tools away, which is looking for the mismatch, because there was none.
So speaking about let's switch gears to another sport. MLB, Major League Baseball, has reached the quarter mark of the season. What are the biggest takeaways so far at this point in the season for you guys?
Biggest takeaway for me is just I got more questions.
Are you talking about the Dodgers?
No. Fuck you.
No, that's what I thought you meant.
No, I'm just like, there's questions. We're at the quarter mark, and it's a long season, so it's like there's certain things is real, but we know the talent of Ohtani is real. The question is now he's 23. Can the nature of his dual role, can he keep this up for the rest of the season?
So I think right now they're playing him 4 days in a row. Then they give him a day off before he pitches and a day off after he pitches before he goes back into the lineup.
And he wants to play more.
Yep.
They're 18 and 26 in the games he's played.
And he's batting 348,
1
16
point,
RBIs, 5 home runs.
1.044 OPS.
Yep.
If he can keep this up, they're them in Houston.
Logan Morrison said that he's the best player in baseball just by virtue of what he's able to do.
I never understood why more players didn't do that. I think now we're going to see a trend.
I mean, we'll see. I definitely. I mean, because
a bad man to be able to do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Especially at that level.
I'm pretty sure I took a position earlier in the season with confirmation bias and said that's just not going to be sustainable. Especially because his pitching arm is his lead arm on his swing. The thing that stood out to me with baseball is this conversation around lack of balls being put into play. It's now up to 35% of plays in baseball where it's either a home run, a strikeout, a walk, or a hit by a pitch. So with balls not being put into play, stolen bases is at an all-time low. The use of pitch runners is at an all-time low. The game, frankly, is getting boring. A game that, and we talked about this last season in confirmation bias, that they're struggling to get younger fans. Less kids are playing baseball, and now the product that is on the field because of this infatuation with the long ball and swings and being okay with strikeouts, the batting average is as low as it's ever been since the 70s. I think it's at 240 now. But there's not enough action that's happening. It's completely feast or famine. To me, that's the thing that's standing out, and they've got to address that.
Yeah. What about Mookie Betts? His ridiculous quarter right now. He's on fire right now. Probably the leading candidate for American League MVP. He's currently batting .362.
Yep.
He's on pace for 52 home runs and I think like 108 RBI.
Mookie Betts and Jackie Bradley, the Red Sox, they made...
Mookie has the best name ever.
I think those are the two best, Jackie Bradley Jr. and Mookie Betts, okay? And he's Mookie Betts the third now, actually.
Wow.
He added the 3 on there. The Red Sox, about 2 or 3 years ago, made a big bet on those two outfielders, and it's starting to pay off. Playing really good baseball. The Red Sox and the Yankees are doing what we thought. They're smashing the hell out of the baseball.
It took a minute.
What about the Braves and the Phillies?
Yeah.
I think the Phillies have the youngest roster in the league, and the Braves have the 3 youngest players playing for them at the same time, and they are in the hunt.
Yeah.
And like the youth movement is real over there and it's working.
This whole season just feels weird. Like, I'm not to throw salt in the wound, but like the Dodgers playing the way that they are, considering how they've been playing the last few years, how these teams that we thought that were going to be super inferior are in the hunt. The entire
The Pirates,
right? The entire division of the AL Central is fucking garbage. Like, it's just weird.
Well, yeah, it feels like a season of extremes. There are, I think, like 7 teams right now that are on pace to win 100 games, and there are 7 teams that are on pace to lose 100 games.
Orioles is one of them.
Yes. So, and then there's everyone else in the middle. I think the largest division league right now is like 3.5 games. So, I think from that standpoint, that's good. We'll see how it holds up. The youth movement, same thing.
Yeah.
You know, baseball is a long season. That rookie wall is real. But yeah, I mean,
West.
the Dodgers. I'm very concerned about. Like I said, my
16 and
conversation. I'm
24.
concerned about the Dodgers. Omar knows. I've always been like a Debbie Downer when it comes to the Dodgers, especially with the pitching. Like I understand the strategy and it has worked, but I feel like the chickens have come home to roost in a real way this season.
See, my problem is he's been complaining for 5 years straight, so now it's like now that he was actually right.
Now you're right. This time, motherfucker.
Well, no, before it was the hitting. Like I felt like we didn't have enough bats, and then with the pitching, it was like this whole idea of getting like mid-level guys and then banking on the bullpen. And now we have the 3rd worst bullpen in baseball. And those mid-level guys that we have are now getting injuries, or they're just not performing the way that they did in previous years. And Kershaw has pitched a lot of innings over his career. And I think, here's my favorite word, guys, I think his fall is going to be precipitous. And I'm feeling like we should get ahead of the fall.
Is that the first $12 word of confirmation bias?
Nah,
season?
we've had some other ones.
It's had to been a couple.
It's had to have been, but precipitous is for Clayton Kershaw. I think is what's coming. I think we need to get ahead of that. That's my thought on
And
it.
how do you want to get ahead of that?
Flip them,
What, Manny
Belichick them. Hey, Manny.
He's been killing.
Bye, baby, bye.
So before we get out of our hot topics and into our next segment, let's briefly touch on the NHL playoffs. Omar,
I'm out of here.
the conference finals are, like we discussed, are in full swing. We have the Western Division or Conference, Vegas Knights and Winnipeg. They're tied up at 1. Well, we thought it was going to go one way, and it went that other way. Then it came back to home. We kind of want that to come to fruition so we can have a little.
Yeah, I think Vegas just needed a game to warm up.
Well, they had sat, right?
Right, they had sat, and Winnipeg had just finished a game 7 2 days earlier. So I think it took a while for Vegas to get into the flow. But that last game looked a lot more like what we're accustomed to seeing, and now we're going back to Vegas. Let's
see what happens.
Let's clean them up.
Well, that's what I was kind of hoping with the Caps. They went up 2-0 on the road, came home tonight. They kind of got the ass whooped, so now it's 2-1. Wanted to know if they can close out on the road. Obviously, they can't, but they are right now the betting favorite to win the whole thing.
The Capitals are.
They
got the hot goalie. You find in NHL playoffs, you find the hot goalie, and they've got offensive pieces. And their defensive line has been really good in this playoff series. So we'll see.
All right. Time for our antonym segment. Black first blue. First up, hope or hype? Did boxing get it right? Canelo Alvarez was dropped from the WBC ranking for not agreeing to have year-round World Anti-Doping Association drug testing. And since he wouldn't agree to year-round testing, they dropped him from the rankings. He changed his mind real quick and said, okay, I will do year-round testing. I feel like that's not something boxing would normally do to the face of their of the sport, especially after Floyd left. So throw it to you guys. Do you think that boxing is getting it right now?
I would say it's hype just because they can posture all they want. He can come back after that and still have a pay-per-view fight against some mop and still be a pay-per-view star. They just love him too much.
I mean, they can't stop his pay-per-view numbers.
Right. I think it's hope that they got it right. That if they catch somebody with PEDs or something that masks PEDs, that they need to be suspended.
And I think all credit goes to Floyd Mayweather because he was the face of boxing, and he is the one that pushed the train on that, which I think gave them the gumption to tell Canelo, listen, shit or get off the pot. And he thought that it was going to go one way, and it went the other way. That's 2 in a row if I get one more. So, yeah, I mean, credit to Floyd for that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's hopeful that they're getting it right.
All right. And it definitely says something about him that he didn't want to do it.
I think it's arrogance. Honestly, I was with you because my first time hearing about this story is right now, and I was with you all the way until you said then that Canelo changed his tune. And then I was like, oh, Canelo changed his tune. That confirms for me that was just about arrogance. Like, he was probably feeling like, you think I'm some sort of a cheater. And they was like, no, we're going to drop you. And then he was like, well, I don't want that to happen. So, yeah.
All right, newsworthy or nothing to see here. In a landmark decision,
Yes!
the Supreme Court strikes down the federal law prohibiting sports gambling.
NFL games about to get way more expensive.
And now the states have the go-ahead to legalize betting on all sports. Newsworthy or nothing to see
You
here.
know it's newsworthy,
How about
man.
that? On the show notes, it don't even say nothing to see. It says news.
A decision was made.
That was a Freudian slip.
Nah, that was intentional. It's definitely newsworthy. But the one thing I don't think will change is those professional gamblers. I don't think it will affect them too much. They're going to continue to do the same thing. But the casual fans will definitely get more involved because, correct me if I'm wrong, degenerates, but like these new laws they will be taxed and there will be all kinds of fees.
There aren't any new laws yet. All they did was struck down. That's where the next fight is. Is it going to be a federal law to regulate it across the nation, or will the states be allowed to make separate laws?
I think that the Supreme Court's ruling, not to get all legalese here, but I think that their ruling was specifically designed to say, leave it in the hands of the states. Just like marijuana, just like most things, where I think that's going to be whether now I'm sure there will be a fight. I'm sure the federal government
there was room for it, and the sports entities like NBA, NFL, they would prefer that there was one rule.
Absolutely, it would make it easier for them, and they'll lobby and campaign
because they want to get paid too. They want 1%.
Right.
Going back to something that you mentioned and how expensive the games will be, can you guys think of what will be available to be bet on now? Like you're gonna be able to bet on per at bats.
Yeah,
you're gonna be able to
prop bets galore. It's going to be a whole bunch
shot.
of dads trying to get their money back from the money they spent on tickets and concessions, and it could be borderline dangerous, quite frankly. Especially in like can you imagine in basketball games with how close the fans are? And let's say
LeBron, you better not miss. I got 100 on this shot, bitch.
Are you kidding me?
I think there's going to be a lot of trial and error, and by the time it's all said and done, there will be some universal rules about betting. Like, so like Houston Rockets owner he owns casinos. So like, he's not going to have the Houston Rockets on his betting. Like, there's going to be, there's going to have to be some sort of set of universal rules, regardless of the state. There has to be something. So, but it's going to take trial and error. There's going to right.
I don't know how's it going to work in college sports though. I mean, you betting on kids who don't make any money.
They do it now, and they also make money.
And on that note,
Uncle Ralph told us.
Uncle Ralph. Yeah. And Mr. Jason, I'm sorry, but I do not know how to pronounce your last name. I believe it's Jason Hayhier, who directed the HBO documentary series Andre the Giant. And he did the 30 for 30 Fab 5 episode. He is directing a 10-hour documentary about his airness, Michael Jordan, which is actually kind of dope because it's melding ESPN with Netflix. And it's going to air on Netflix, co-produced by ESPN. Is that a hit or flop?
That's a hit.
That's a hit.
That's a hit. It's Jordan, and for one particular reason, ESPN wants Nick Wright to see it.
That's funny. I definitely think it's a hit for the younger generation who didn't get to see Michael Jordan play.
I almost forgot.
And so now you get to see the man behind the shoes. But I think, I mean, unless they're going to be able to get a hold of Michael and get Michael to talk.
They have it. He is in it.
No, it's all like unseen footage from the runs.
And Michael is with
and Michael's involved.
Yes.
And he's talking. Yeah. Okay, then it's a hit because
that's what made it such a big story.
Yeah.
Michael's involved.
Yeah, because Michael has been unlike with Kobe. Like Kobe did his own little documentary. He's as he got towards the end of his career, he talked a lot more. We got to see some of how the sauce was made. Michael's always been very buttoned up.
I wouldn't be surprised
reserved.
if because of the way Kobe has been acting, it may have helped Michael a little bit. So
okay.
So let's get into diplomatic community. We got a couple of questions. So this just in from the real talk from the sick,
literally
from the sick bed. How you doing, Ambassador Chef Curry? What should the Phoenix Suns do with the number 1 pick?
Don't fuck it up.
They can't. They're gonna take Aiden, and he went to Arizona.
We just saw an article where they looking at the kid.
Euro is number 1.
Yeah.
Everything can be fucked up.
Well, no.
See the Browns.
Well, right. Well, no. I mean, I guess that wouldn't. If you think that he's as good of a playmaker as they're saying, it's not, because they do have cap space. So like they could go and get DeAndre Jordan, for example. They could go and get a big, and then take the pick. So I guess it's about their level of confidence, in terms of how they're going to be able to play in free agency, because they definitely have to address the center position. Alex Lynn is a free agent.
Is a mop.
And Dragon and Dragan Bender is better suited as a 4 and not a 5. So you got a glaring hole at the 5 spot that you do need to fill. Tyson Chandler can't do it. And point guard. So if you think and then they just hired Putin as their coach, who I'm pretty sure has visibility into Luka Doncic, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
So you saying Knight is not the point guard of the future? Is that what you're saying?
He's guilty of
Damn,
robbery.
Brandon.
Two more questions.
He's guilty of robbery.
This is from good old Slug. What's the best finals matchup?
Houston versus Golden State.
Actually, I think the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be better than that.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that goes 6.
what I would say, in my opinion, is that Boston, they're not going to lay down for anybody,
No.
and they match up.
Wish we could.
They
see the
can
score.
match up. I won't say they match up well. They can match up with Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, the difference between Boston and Golden State is they're both coached well. I would say Boston's coached slightly better, but Golden State has the stars.
Yeah, they're talented. Yeah. No.
So it's
But it, you know, they're gonna make them work for everything. It will be, by the end of the series, it will be abundantly clear that the difference between the two teams is just the talent.
And if NBA has anything to do with it, LeBron's about to start getting calls because the ratings for a Golden State Boston finals would be very low.
Yeah,
They would rather see anybody would
it would be popping in San Francisco and in New England, and
in
that's it.
Beantown. That's it.
Yeah.
And confirmation bias, it would be popping. No?
I'm all for watching Boston lose.
Oh, that's right. Fuck New Edition. And last but not least, before we get out of here, over the weekend, Vasily Lomachenko knocked out Jorge Linares with a vicious body shot. Which there was a very interesting.
It was a good
card.
fight, man.
The card was very close. It could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Now we talked about this at the crib. Aside from Mikey Garcia, where else can he go?
Home.
That is Lomachenko.
Home. There's nowhere else for him to go.
Just retire at 13-1.
You know, Robert Easter. You know, Robert Easter is big. So, you know, you could see it could potentially turn out like a Jared Hurd versus Erislandy Lara situation because Easter is big, but
Pacquiao just put it out there. He want to fight him.
Pacquiao will get mixed too.
Oh yeah, I truly think the only person who can beat him is Garcia.
yeah, he's very talented and he showed something.
He got dropped and got up.
Right.
It wasn't a flash knockdown, Omar. It was a legit knockdown.
It was a legit knockdown.
It was a straight right
It
hand.
sure as hell was.
That he didn't
But
see.
that body shot, man. It doesn't matter who you
Remember
hit.
Kenyon's face when he finally realized what shot it was?
Right.
He was trying to say it was a punch from 6 minutes ago, and it was like, no, wait. But that's all we got here for Diplomatic Community. Thank you guys for participating, and keep it coming.
Let's get out of here. This has been another episode of Confirmation Bias. Again, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Check out our website, theleagueam.com. Please subscribe to and like our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We will see you on Thursday.
Welcome back, Junior Blue.
Yes, sir.